So most people are never going to figure out that the stock market is completely manipulated. It's a complete scam. It's a casino essentially. There's no investment about it. And I mean, today it's just proof evidence that you cannot invest with this market. You can't even. I don't see. It's almost impossible to make money the way they manipulate it. So the brain seeds you on Thursday. You can see this low. This candle essentially penetrated below the low of the previous candle. So it's setting up, this is a trap. So right when it got below there, it's a trap and it started going higher, started to squeeze. And here it ran all the way up close, toward the high of the day. And of course it's going to gap up because it normally doesn't carry over, but it carries over when it's option expiration for the third week or the monthly expiration, which is today, the third week of the month for October, the beginning of the new quarter. So it carried over and gapped up and continues higher, and then got all the way to price target. And so once it gets to price target, you can't use the data from the past anymore. So price target has reached at 3,400. The trend, of course, is obviously going higher. However, once price target is reached, you got to establish whatever the trend it is, ignoring the previous data. Essentially, now you got to say, well, price target is reached. And the trend is now, you got to reestablish a new trend, whatever the trend it is. And at a certain point, you got to realize now the trend is going down, especially when it started going below. I mean, it's below VWAP, so that's the volume weighted average price. So at this point, you got to realize that the trend is down and you shouldn't be trying to counter rally or counter trend or expect a reversal. And the whole day I was expecting a reversal because they brain seed you. Essentially, this right here from Thursday to Friday, the strength and the volumes on the options are this volume on the call options. Uh, Essentially brain seeds you into thinking that it's going to have to rally a counter rally. But it didn't counter rally. I mean, playing counter rally is going to mess. In fact, if you were thinking it's going to go above 3,400, um, now had they gone up above 3,400, maybe it would have kept going. But the fact that they didn't get it to above 3,400, they stopped it right at 3399.66. So right before, I mean, it's amazing. It's absolutely purposely did that so that the setup is now a reversal. I mean, it's yeah, they set up any longs who thought it was gonna break out, and the longs just hoping at this point that it's gonna reverse. I mean, I'm thinking it's gotta reverse because I'm brain seeded into thinking from all this positive bias and this positive trend, but you have to erase any human justification, anything you think logically doesn't apply. You have to go with what the data is telling you. You have to be a robot. I mean, essentially, you have to tell yourself every day, I'm a robot. I need to follow my discipline. I need to follow whatever the data is telling me. The data is telling me at this point that the trend is down. And you can't counter rally. You can't counter trend. If you counter trend, you are gonna get burned. And even when it gets to this level right here, um, even when it got to this price level of 38.2, the fact that it's doing the flush, this whole flush thing, it's not gonna rally back up. It's not. And I made the same mistake just like yesterday, where I was expecting here. I was expecting a reversal. No, it penetrated. Of course, it eventually reversed, but it penetrated and stopped me out. And that right there cost me 1,000. Today, this right here, the same thing happened. It cost me 500 because I didn't play as big, but it's still a large value. I mean, right here, this right here cost me 500 for no particular reason. It was a tough day today, even though, I mean, I was minus, I shouldn't have, I was up 3,000, whatever, because I was trying to make up for that dumb loss from yesterday. However, it was, you can see that I was counter trending the whole day, which is absolutely incorrect, but I was playing small and playing, I was playing smart, so, but still completely the wrong strategy. Could have gotten burned if I held any of my, if I did, if I hold a runner for next week, it probably would burn me quite a bit. Um, um, just carrying a runner for next week or weeks to come is probably going to cause a lot of issue because there's just increased volatility at this point. There is so much volatility, increased volatility that you can't really carry a runner. I mean, I guess you can get lucky and carry a runner, but it's really, this may be the final run up. Um, Yeah, Amazon is so manipulated. I mean, you look at BABA. I mean, this makes no sense at all, right? BABA is at a high pretty much. It's a huge company, pretty much half of what Amazon is, but it's at an all-time high, and Amazon is not even anywhere close to where it should be. That being said, this final run up for earnings should probably be it before I think the market will crash. Uh, Today kind of proved that they can crash the market by running it. Look at that, they ran it all the way down to whatever this was. The low, yeah, it looks like the low is like 3160 or whatever, all the way down here. The fact that they can run it all the way down like that indicates that the crash is coming. Um, Easily a crash is coming, and I think it's gonna come after this earnings run up. So the earnings run up will probably be it for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, and then any upside you see is just bring seed, just like this upside right here. I mean, they might do something like this where it runs up, run up, run up, and then eventually it's gonna crash. And this crash coming is gonna be even heavier than this one. I mean, that sounds kind of hilarious because this was really heavy. But the fact that this happened in one day on option expiration, not even that much volume. Um, I guess it is a pretty good volume. Yeah, pretty good volume. But the fact that they can do it like at the very end, I mean, this type of movement at the very end really show you that they can crash the market easily, and the longs are not very, they don't have the stops in place to prevent this from happening. Surprisingly, I mean, this was just crazy on option expiration that. So yeah, carrying a runner, carrying anything long term, it's gonna probably be pretty painful when the crash comes. So um, essentially, the only thing you can do is get the puts or get. Well, I guess the puts will make you the most money, but when they on the calls as well, when they do run it, like on the 3400 form on, yeah. So these, I mean, when they do run it, this is how you make the money, because you really can't make the money buying options unless it's doing these type of period where they essentially, it's, I call it the wave. So you gotta catch and ride the waves. That's the only time you can make money is during the waves, and you can kind of see the signal with the volume. So on these cars, you can see the signal on the volume is going. I mean, if you catch it good enough, you can ride it. Now, yeah, it turned down, but even on the downturn here, you can probably re-enter if you get out, and re-enter and catch it again. And they always gonna do a capitulation top. So that normally correlate with a price target. In this case, it was 3,400 for Amazon. And that point, you shouldn't buy the puts right away because you don't know if it's gonna reverse or not. But you can watch the volume on the puts, and so you can watch the volume, and probably at this point you might get in, and then it's you probably have to get out because you can see that you might probably get stopped out for a little bit of a gain or a little bit of a loss, but you won't get much. You won't lose much, and then you catch it again on this run right here. This wave right here is where you can catch it, and then boom. Now, normally this won't happen until it's like Thursday, Friday, where it's close to option expiration. Although it is earnings coming up, so it's gonna be pretty crazy. But I feel like normally earnings, especially the data today being pretty good on the retails, I'm expecting whatever the analysts coming out, their objective is always going to be on the positive side. So any earnings coming out most likely is going to be spin to the positive. So most likely it's going to have an earning run, and this may be just the clearing point for the earnings to run up on Amazon and Apple. Um, yeah. So tough week essentially. I mean, missed out on this run up and then just completely didn't catch the run down. But technically, I don't think it matters at this point. If you look at anything technically, you say, well, this is negative. This is a negative candle on the weekly. Blah blah blah. Yeah, it is, but it doesn't matter at this point. These long-term technical doesn't matter right now because it is completely option derived manipulation. Um, so it's still above 38.2. Earnings are coming. This might just clear out, get any of the shorts, the shorts to get in. It may even be lower on Monday, and it's gonna squeeze the shorts on the earnings run. I mean, it's gonna squeeze the shorts. Now there is the case of COVID, and that is a good point that COVID is going higher surprisingly. But I think any positive data on COVID um is going to stimulate them, or it's going to be a catalyst for the market to go higher. Now, I am rather surprised that COVID is going the cases of COVID is going higher if that does pull up on here somehow. But yeah, it's not showing up. But anyway, the trend of COVID is going higher. Let me see if it can show up one more time. Right here. So the trend of COVID is going higher. You can see completely going higher. So any positive development out of COVID, as far as reduction in trend or whatever, data, you know, implementation or whatnot, will spark the market to rally. And I think earnings is rather, unless COVID really gets really bad, I think earnings is gonna really the reason why the market is gonna go up for the next 2 3 weeks, whatever it is before, it's gonna probably at that point, at the end of October, um, beginning of November, I think if the market is up here, that's gonna set up for the crash of November, regardless of the election of Trump, it's just gonna be set up for a crash. Because it's gonna not reach this high. The QQQ will not be making a new high, and there's just no more buying, and all the shorts are gone, so the buyers are, or they got all that rally, to 300 or whatever, and then they're going to easily sell if there's any weakness, and that weakness, that selling, that's having stops, it's going to create a huge crash for November. Now, I guess it can crash now, but I'm just thinking the earnings are gonna be decent. But maybe the earnings will not be decent. So if the earnings are not decent, and this is already front running for bad earnings, and maybe there are people who know that earnings will be bad, and this is actually front running for earnings, then yeah, it's gonna be pretty wicked. It'll be the October crash, which is, instead of November, it'd be an October crash. Now, no one knows the future, but very likely scenario that whoever, the people, the insider know the data and they are using that data to front run. But to me, it just feels like manipulation more than front running. But you never know. You're gonna have to take it one day at a time and see how it is set up. And see how earnings, how the companies, starting next week, you got Teradyne, Netflix, Texas Instruments, and see how the investor are behaving and how the analysts are spinning the data, and hopefully they spin it positively because that's their job, is to spin it positively. I mean, who wants to have a market to crash? No one does. If you're an analyst or whatever, you're gonna recommend buy, and I'm pretty sure the CEO and the CFO are gonna try to release as much positive data as possible, and maybe more news of the stimulus, and that will spark a rally. But there's still a whole bunch of scam stock out there like Zoom. So this is I am now positive that this is the new golden child. This has replaced Tesla, and so it's 100 billion. Rather expensive. And geez, I wish I would have gotten in this guy much earlier. But yeah, I'm gonna probably start playing Zoom because this is probably start monitoring really closely. This is a golden child, so to speak. And I guess the culture of Zoom is gonna be prevalent going forward, even if we have a vaccine for. But I'm sure if once they announce a vaccine for COVID, this thing is gonna retrace at least to 300. Because everybody's gonna say it's gonna be back to normalcy, and then this is gonna go back to 300. And then it's probably gonna, you know, be rallying back again as people realize that Zoom is the platform that everyone has set up now for online for video conferencing and whatnot. So as long as Zoom is the chief online video conferencing company, that culture, that platform will be prevalent going forward, regardless of a vaccine and a return to normalcy. But there's so many like Neo, I mean, just complete run up. Regardless of what the market is doing, there are companies that they don't care, and that's kind of hilarious that it just ignore the market condition because um which kind of tells me that there's still a whole bunch of there's not fear right now, it's more of just manipulation. um but that's what I think it is. So I have to start looking at the individual stocks and try to catch the breakout runners. The breakout runners. It's gonna be, it's too late for Neo, but there's gonna be other candidates. So something like TTD, which is now too late, right? Once it reversed, so to speak, and you miss out of that, it's too late. There's no point in trying to catch, there's no point in hoping for a return up. And it could happen, but I'd rather catch something else. There's always another high flying potential stock that Fastly has now, this one is not, it's probably gonna move down here, and then eventually this will catch fire again. But um, yeah, I don't know what's a good candidate right now. Maybe Square will catch fire, you know. But although this has a run up still. Um, a Big C might catch fire. This guy might catch fire for whatever reason and get back to 150. Lemonade, I don't think this one will catch fire. But the other one is Snow, right here, this guy. And then, of course, Net, although this has already caught fire. Yeah, this one is already. And you got those, yeah, like Sun Run might re-catch fire, and Sun Power, and all the Janko Solar, all the solar company, right? And then there's other stocks that will catch fire, but this is a really tricky market right now, and it's gonna be, you're gonna have to just play like a robot, and you gotta stick with your discipline because the if you try to outsmart the market right now and outthink it, and play just playing with emotions and justification and say, well, it's going to have to reverse. It's going to have to reverse. It can't be down 100 points. It can't be down whatever, right? Well, it kind of proves to you that it can. This kind of proves to you that you cannot hold, I mean, anyone who hoping for a rally and say it's gotta go back up. It's gotta go back up. It's gotta go back up. Oh my goodness, my account is blown. I mean, essentially that's what they're gonna do. And I was watching this, and I was like, I just could not believe, or even I didn't even have it in my head that it would go down to 3,300. I mean, because I'm just brain seeded from the yesterday that it's just can't possibly. Once I saw that it got to 3,400, for some reason I'm thinking worst case, it's gonna get back to 3350. Even when it's here, and when it started breaking down, I was like, yeah, there's no way it's gonna get to 3,300. And my goodness, not only did it get to 3,300, I even said, well, now that it's at 3,300, there's gotta be a bounce. Boom, I lost 500, and luckily I didn't buy the options. Had I bought the options like I did yesterday, that probably would have cost me 5,000. This stupid right here from 3,300 all the way to whatever it was, 3,272. It probably went lower if you look at it. But someone hit the market sale with about 100,000 or whatever it was, to generate this crash right here. And as fun as this sound, but I think Amazon is what controlling the market. As funny as that sound, one stock is controlling the market because everything is pegged. That the QQQ, the market is pegged to the behavior of Amazon. And when Amazon starts to sell off, the QQQ started to sell off as well. As funny as that sound, like shouldn't Amazon follow the market? No, no, this is all because of Amazon's options. This is all Amazon options. People driving, the manipulators driving this down, and they are driving this down, which causes the QQQ to go down. as the signals, everything is connected. Like I said, Amazon is paired with the QQQ. They kind of trade in tandem. And once Amazon started going down, the QQQ started going down, we trigger every other stocks that are tied to the QQQ, except for stocks that really they don't care because they are traded on their own behavior, like Neo or any of the other stocks that high flying, that they're trying to push right now, like Zoom. These individuals. This guy was just, yeah, it didn't show any sell off. You can see that no sell off on Zoom. How is it that Zoom experienced no sell off? This really tells me that the traders, they didn't care. They know this is not real. That Amazon selling off, triggering the market to sell off, uh, they didn't care. And they say, well, I don't care. Zoom is gonna, I'm gonna trade Zoom, and yeah, this one is under control by, whatever group is out there that's trying to manipulate it. And what is it gonna run up to? I don't know. At this point, but it's gonna probably, any additional weakness, it's probably gonna continue to run. It's just a golden child at this point. It's like Tesla at this point. But Tesla is no longer a golden child for whatever reason. They just where's Tesla? Here is Tesla. And maybe you know what maybe it's just today, and then next week Tesla will continue to go up. But who knows, right? It's this kind of like a fast breakout, and now it's like it can easily go back down to 400. No, I think Tesla earnings is coming as well. So let's see how they spin the earnings. And it can be bad day news with Tesla earnings, or it can be good news. We don't know. And Apple kind of trades on its own too, for whatever reason. Still, it's below the 50%, but it's still above the 61.8. I'm not even gonna look at the weekly because it doesn't matter at this point. Um, so yeah, it's gonna be continued craziness for the next few days. Yeah, just continued craziness.